which is now 7:15. We're 15 minutes late. Apologize to everybody that tuned in at 7 and wanted to see the action right away. First thing on the agenda is public input. Anyone wishing to come forward has 5 minutes. They can come forth and discuss any topic that they would like to relative to the city affairs. Mr. Zimmerman, welcome.
Good evening. William Zimmerman. So we just concluded the first economic development meeting of the season. New members to the CIC, a committee that hasn't met in 2 years. Find that remarkable. How could it not meet for 2 years? We don't have anything of importance to discuss in Avon. So there was discussion about the fact that we're going to have to find somebody and do an RFQ, RFP, whatever you're saying, about the park project. And going forward with this atrocity of purchasing the power plant. I don't understand why we would even start to consider paying anyone to come up with a plan for that project when we can't fix our roads. We're having to go to an income tax to try to generate a small portion of money to help finance that. I don't understand that. Why would we be putting money out for that? We're paying $900,000 annually for leases of machinery and vehicles. We're gonna have $100,000 going to Erieville. Maybe not this year, but next, to purchase the property. It's just a small amount of all the things that we're doing. There's no salt left in our city to help our roads. I drive past the place, it looks like a sandbox. It's so small. I don't understand how we didn't have the foresight to plan better. Again, lack of leadership. Ineffective leadership. So there's discussions about town center. Can't find a vendor who wants to be in there, so we're going to build instead. And again, we're going to let them dictate the terms potentially to get a TIF. So again, we're going to assist builders instead of charging builders fees to build in our city. As I said in the previous meeting, we've had thousands and thousands of homes built in our city, and yet they don't pay anything to do it. They don't contribute to a fund. It could be an economical fund that we could use to do other things to enhance our city. There's discussions about going places to trade shows and stuff to help try to sell the land at the power plant. Not a horrible idea, but it costs money. So where would the money come from? Could come from a fee or a fund like that. I think that's more than reasonable. I don't think that that's a problem. Sometimes you have to invest a little money to make money and to make our city even a little better. I just don't understand. I say that a lot when I'm up here. I don't understand. I'm not the brightest guy on the block. But some of the stuff I don't understand is nonsense. I just can't believe that we can't make better choices and move things along. And I have concerns because there's nobody coming forward who wants to develop that property. The big white elephant now. I don't know that we're gonna find someone. And we're talking about worrying about developing the shoreline and stuff like that, and all of that 23 acres of park space that we park. School board tells me there's no developer coming forward that they can have discussions with about a TIF. So that means the project's not moving.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to come up? Mr. Phillips, welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Gerald Phillips, Avon Lake resident, 20 years. Also a certified public accountant. And what I want to talk about is the income tax. The current income tax, city income tax, is being allocated. 69% goes to the general fund. 16% goes to a capital improvement fund. 12% goes to a general bond retirement fund, and 3% goes into the recreation fund. So I went through the CAFRA, which is Certified Annual Financial Report for the City of Avon Lake, and reviewed it, and came up with some interesting comments. The recreation fund has two sources of income: city income tax and charges. Those are the only source of income for the recreation fund. The question is, why do we use city income tax funds to subsidize recreation? We should be charging the services to make that a self-sufficient, break-even entity. Also, I've heard comments that we're going to be buying Clearview through developers' fees in the recreation fund. Now, I've looked, I can't find any fund with developers' fee in a recreation fund. So maybe I'm incompetent, or we just don't do that, because I couldn't find any. And somebody made a comment, I believe it was a Councilwoman Fenderbosch. So if somebody can prove me wrong, I definitely would like that. Now, the general bond fund, all right, part of the proceeds go there, and we pay off the proceeds of the general obligations. And I think there's maybe $1 million in that fund. Let's see, yeah, about $1 million, non-debt service, 1.7 million in that fund at the end of '24. Now, what's interesting is we're worrying about this ordinance, Resolution 26-2, and I see nowhere where the 65%, 35% is in that resolution. I don't know if that's a mistake, but you know, I believe it should be in there. But probably one of the most concerning elements that I found is the city has almost $23 million in cash or cash equivalents at the end of 2024. 3.36 in the general, 9.16 in other governmental funds. But what's disturbing is we're passing an income tax to help fund capital improvements, but at the end of December 31st, 2024, we got $10 million in that capital improvement fund. $10 million. Now, did we spend that all in 2025? I don't know. But the beginning cash and ending cash for 24 stayed the same. So I don't know if that's overlooked, but we're talking about raising an income tax because we need funds, and I quote, capital improvements, 35%. Did anybody think about the fact that we got $10 million in a capital improvement fund? I haven't heard that discussed in any of the income tax proposals. So I definitely think council should consider that before they even vote on that resolution. You can go check out the CAFRA. I got copies of it if you want to see it. The other thing is, I looked at the income tax revenues. In any financial statement, they got statistics. Our city income tax has doubled in the last 10 years. That's 10% increase in our city income tax. The question is, with that increase, how did we spend that money? How did we waste that money to be in a situation where we got to raise the income tax? A 10% increase per year for 10 years, from 9 million to 18 million. That's a question I like to know. You know, we waste a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wishing to address council at this point? All right, very good. Ms. Crosby, I'll ask for you to comment on some of those comments when you do your presentation on the tax a little later in the meeting. Thank you. All right. With that being, I'm going to conclude public comment at this point, and I'll turn the meeting over to Ms. Gentry for the Building and Utilities Committee meeting. Thank you.
All right. We'll get started with Building and Utilities Committee. I don't know if we need to take time stamp on this, since this is the first time I'm doing this. You have it? Okay. All right. So the role is myself as chair. We have Matthew Reynolds and Mr. Shamir as the committee. We're all present. So first order of business is to approve the minutes from November 19th, 2025. Any concerns, or are we good to? I move to approve as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstaining because you weren't here?
He
Okay.
could still vote according to Robert's Rule of Order.
Oh,
Sir, if I could, Madam Chair, he could still vote according to Robert's Rules of Order, even though he wasn't present.
okay. So for unfinished business, we were talking about the coal yard stormwater connection and the statement of work for Osborne Engineering. So, Mr. Liskovic, do you have an update on that?
I do, and thanks to a couple of meetings and conversations with Councilman Shamir, we're sharing of some ideas and stuff like that. I'm working on getting a statement of work a scope of work put together for that. Trying to expedite that as quickly as I can. I do have a firm lined up to review and do the work for it. So that's
Is that Osborne, or did I misread?
no.
Not them, okay.
Correct.
Just wanted to make sure, okay.
So, and like I said, I'm working to expedite that as quickly as we can so we can finally put this to bed.
Okay, yes.
If I could, so that the public knows that are here and those that are watching, the committees have changed their different tasks, and this stormwater will be transferred from building utilities over to public service, and we are going to have continuity here. Ms. Gentry's working with me along with Mr. Shamir and Mr. Liskovic, and we have all the rest of council here along with Kayla Goodwin, who is with environmental, because we don't want to lose any of the information to the cracks. So Mr. Shamir gave a number of items, documents to Mr. Liskovic in writing, and Mr. Liskovic is going to turn them up to digital so we can then share them with all of council. Thank you.
And I'd like to keep, if we continue, and it's open for debate, but if we do remove it from building and utility, my intent was to keep it in building and utilities and continue keeping building and utilities as part of the CCM so that the entire council is available to discuss it, because it is such a broad scope and touches environmental as well as many of the other committees. So that was my intention. Is there any concern about keeping it as building and utilities, or do we want to switch, since it's stormwater is no longer really building and utilities?
I personally would like to keep it with you
Okay.
and then mention and refer back to it in public service. And probably Kayla will be, Mrs. Goodwin will be doing the same thing in environmental, so that we all touch on it, so that it's not lost between the cracks.
Okay,
And so that when it's final, it's final.
sounds good.
Mr. Shamir?
Mr. Shamir?
So I agree, and I think we just need to close the loop on the actual study
Yeah.
and the controls that we're going to put in place through your committee, and then we can move it over at that point of time.
Yep, and so, when we have this statement of work, we'll need, approval from council to go out, so we'll bring it to council at that time when we have that statement of work ready to go, and then, we'll do the votes from there. So, any further discussion on this topic? If not, we'll move forward to new business. And with this, this is going to be brief, but in light of the snowstorm, I thought it relevant to, there are many, many, many different opportunities for folks to get help with their energy bills. So I did put together a presentation. I'm hoping to get this out onto the public site. I'm working with Mr. Rua. He's got he has this, and he has some plans on how to get this out in a better format. But for now, this is the first two of these, the HWAP and the HELP, are income-based help that are available for residents. And then as people do upgrades to their homes, there are other opportunities for applying for rebates. So those are available as well. And as I said, I'm not going to go through these in detail. There were links here. We'll get this out on the site as soon as possible so that people can review. But I just wanted to make sure that people knew that there are some options out there for help with some of their expenses in the cold weather. So the Columbia Gas, they have, this is their Warm Choice Program. The other, we have a federal home energy rebate program. If you make some investments, you can get reimbursed for some of those. And then state of Ohio also has some programs that can be funded. Again, didn't want to go into details on this, just wanted to make people aware that these programs are available, and we will post this out on the city site as soon as possible. Any questions? Okay. At this point, I would like to open it up for public input.
Gerald Phillips, Avon Lake. The coal yard. We keep talking about the concept of lessons learned. Now, I think it's a very simple solution. I don't know why we hired Osborne. If you really understand the problem, it was because it was a procedural issue. The current provision in the codified ordinances provides that the Public Works Director would designate the stormwater management, but we didn't have one, okay? And nowhere in the codified ordinance did it specify. And neither did we appoint an acting public service, which we could have done, okay? I mean, Ms. Crossley was appointed finance director acting when there was a vacancy. It's very common. So that's a mistake. Mistake that we don't have enough foresight to provide for that. And if we had changes in the codified ordinance, we won't have this procedural problem. What happened was, we didn't have a public works director. Mayor Zilka decided on his own to take that authority and appoint Mr. Gaydar in the Avon Lake Regional Water, which was totally not proper, totally illegal. And all Mr. Gaydar did was determine, okay, that the capacity of that basin, okay, could handle a 100-year flood plus one foot. That's it. He never analyzed the quality of the output of that into Lake Erie, which is supposed to be done in every other circumstance. When you have a subdivision and they do a retention basin, they got to get a permit. They got to do the capacity. They got to do the quality. So for whatever reason, we just screwed up and didn't follow the procedure. So that's what happened. It's a procedural error. So what we need to do is provide for that, change the codified ordinances, make sure, okay, that we have a backup. Now the other problem is we still don't have an engineer. Although we had many qualified candidates, but we decided not to pick one. So when we talk about lessons learned, it's a very easy solution. Provide for the procedure, make changes so that it doesn't happen again by changing the codified ordinances. If you want, I can draft it, okay? I don't know why we have to hire Osborne to look at what lessons learned, okay, when it's nothing more than a procedural screw-up. Mr. Zilka had no authority. Mr. Gaydar shouldn't have done it. We should have had an assistant public service director, and we should have had a backup in case that thing is vacancy. Very easily solved.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips.
William Zimmerman. So, as I've said in the past about the Osborne engineering study and all the lessons learned and all this stuff, as Mr. Phillips just so eloquently said about procedures in which they went, these are criminal acts. They superseded their boundaries. Should never have happened. Nobody's ever tried to go back and fix it. Criminal acts. So someday, they may be held accountable. We're still waiting for the report to find out what really happened in their eyes. And so how much money have we wasted for this report? How much time have we wasted? It's been long. I don't understand that. Again, I don't understand. So I have a question in regards to the fact that I know it says that it has to be on agenda items. So I don't know if this is part of the energy assistance program or not. But my question would be in regards to an AI site that wants to potentially be built south of Walker Road. Are we aware of that? Are we discussing that?
I'm not aware of anything.
Okay, thank you. I would hope that, considering from the previous meeting, that Mr. Osborne had said that people had concerns about AI sites being built in our area as part of his 18 people response to the survey, that people would take that into account. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no further discussion, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'll now move to the Environmental Committee meeting. Kayla Goodwin, Chair.
Thank you. I'll call the meeting to order at 7:38 p.m. There is a quorum here with committee members, myself, Rob Shamir, and Jeff Smith. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the November 2024 Communications, Environmental, and Recreational Programming Committee. Are there any corrections to those minutes? And then if there are no corrections, the minutes are approved as prepared and published. Am I good?
Yeah.
And then next is the new business. The Environmental Affairs Advisory Board which I have had the pleasure of being a part of as a citizen member for a long time, has had some discussions and decided that a very new group has been selected, and we felt that with a lot of new opportunities out on the table in front of us and them, that the advisory portion of the name was kind of implied. I'm sorry, the affairs, I'm sorry, the affairs portion of the name was kind of implied. And so, because that's kind of what they all are. They're all items, issues, affairs, it's all kind of wrapped into one. So we felt it's also kind of a mouthful, and I think the group as a whole is in a bit of a state of rebranding. And moving forward, there's a lot of environmental tasks being a lakeside town, and having that opportunity and benefit, I think it needs to be something people remember, and I think that this will help pave that road. So we are proposing that the name change would be go from Environmental Affairs Advisory Board, the EAAB, to Environmental Advisory Board, EAB. And that is pretty much it for that. If there are any questions. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would just move that that this be moved out of committee to the council meeting to follow, the name change.
Okay, thank you. So motion to move to the committee meeting. Okay, thanks.
Second.
Okay. Call
Call for vote.
Oh, sorry, what am I?
All in favor?
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
it passes, and it's already on the agenda, so we'll see it there again.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thanks for the guidance. We're all the new girls sometime, right? Okay. Sorry, my notes. And then with that, the next thing on the agenda is just the initiatives for 2026. We do have a new chair, Mr. Eric Krieg, who is in the audience tonight, if that's okay, he was going to come up and just speak really briefly to the initiatives moving forward in a little bit more depth than I am going to or would. So, Eric, if you wouldn't mind, thanks.
Yes, chair of the currently EAAB. And what we're looking to do is to have particular initiatives through 2026 that will really make an impact on our community, that will allow us to stand out as a group, and to make a really a positive way that we're working with residents, that we're working with commercial, that we're working with our schools, and something that everybody can really contribute to, make a difference. So the four things that we have, and they need to be planned out more. It's A, plastic reduction. B, the impact of the former power plant and parks that will be happening. Have a clean parks and beaches initiative. And then finally, a composting, improvement of our composting activity within Avon Lake. So those are the four things that we're looking at, and our current plan is to assign committee members who will then develop a specific goals to be achieved and a plan to get that done. I would also identify a few other items. So Mr. Shamir has been very active in promoting the Avon Lake Green Scholarship Initiative. And so we want to kick that off ASAP. We have 3 people identified on our committee to support that. In addition, we are going to definitely closely monitor our deer culling efforts within this community, understanding what's been done, once again, the impact and how effective that program is. So those really are currently our focal areas in 2026.
Thank you.
Questions? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Does anyone have
Yeah,
any questions?
questions. Please.
For areas where, for apartments and or condos that are, they have their own waste pickup. I know in my area, and I believe that so I live in the Landings, I think the Aquamarine has a similar issue. We can't get trucks big enough for recycling, or so they say. And I know that Bay has, places where you can go and dump all your cardboard. And I know we have some for paper, but it's only for paper. And so I was wondering if that might be something that you could potentially investigate as well.
Yeah, I think that would fit nicely in understanding really overall our activities associated with waste. And Ms. Fenderbosch was kind enough to forward a initiative from the Ohio EPA about this very thing, right? So how do you use less in our landfills? And so how can we be more effective at recycling? One thing I should mention is that the Public Works was able to secure for us 4 recycling containers for our parks that we previously were not available. Maybe a small thing, but it's a step in the right direction. So I think we really want to get our arms around that very issue.
Just as a suggestion, I know that we as EAAB have been active with the deer culling issue and then information with respect to coyotes. I know that there are concerns back again in the amongst residents about coyotes, especially this time of the year. And it may be through EAB, we can once again send out the information to the community on what can be done. I know that last year we did it, so if we can maybe revisit that fairly quickly, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the input. I believe that Mr. Robeson had that information last year, so we will, I'll check in with him.
Ms. Goodwin? Ms. Goodwin. Chairwoman Goodwin, I have a question.
Yes.
Can I comment? So I know that Terry Robeson, we share him with the Tree Commission, and that kind of gives you a little bit of a problem because he's your member, he can vote, but when he's representing the Tree Commission, he's ex officio. So you might want to give some thought into having him be a member, and perhaps the Tree Commission appoints someone else ex officio so he has the ability to vote. Do you follow where I'm going? So you have so many members in order to have a quorum.
Yes.
And this would help you. Instead of taking away a member, it would assist you. So I thought I should mention that to you.
Yeah, it's a great idea. We want to make sure, this year it's very important that we have very active members. They're all participating in both our meetings and our activities, and of course, so we have a quorum to be able to get things done.
And then on the topic that you're discussing, the Division of Wildlife under ODNR, they have some wonderful videos that perhaps Rob Rua could be putting out on Facebook. They're very short PSAs about the topics that you're talking about when it comes to wildlife. And they're catchy, and they're interesting, and it might assist.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you.
One other item. I do want to, I meant to mention. We do want to make sure that we have a vehicle that informs us around environmental events that occur within our city. We've had a few, and I think at this point, it's did you hear, didn't you hear? So we want to formalize what that is and make sure that we're aware, and when we can get involved in a positive way, we want to be able to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And just very, very quickly, on that last topic, I think specifically, I just want to say it, the Shell station gas, that is something that I feel needs to be someone from some department somewhere, really, it would greatly benefit us that someone, whomever that person is at our next meeting, which is next Tuesday evening at 6:30 p.m. in the basement of the library. So if that's Mr. Liskovic, I don't know if it's him, or I know you would be sending a representative at some point and reporting in via email and stuff, which is much appreciated. But staying on top of things like that, I think is going to be really helpful to us as a committee moving forward. And then one last thing I would like to call out is that currently the city does utilize Rust Belt Riders. There are 2 containers at the service station for composting. It is a paid service in which you pay a monthly fee to Rust Belt Riders for composting, and then they have the receptacles at the service center for you to dump your compost. We are looking into some options. They have some citywide programs in other municipalities, mostly on the east side, where that service is paid for, either by the city or potentially some other source of funding. So that is one thing we're looking into, but I do want to call out that St. Joseph's School right down the road, they have brought in Rust Belt Riders, and they are using them solely as part of their stewardship, teaching the kids composting in their cafeteria and at events and things like that. So they are using Rust Belt Riders. They are the only school in, like, independent school who is using that service as an organization. So I thought that was really cool, and I wanted to bring that up because I think that those kinds of initiatives, getting schools involved and students when they're young and learning the importance of what goes in our trash, goes into our land and goes into our water, and just all of those things. And the sooner you can teach them those principles of recycling and composting, the better. So I just wanted to throw out a kudos to them for getting on that, and hopefully we can get more organizations involved in all different environmental aspects, but that was just one that recently came up. So with that, I will open it up for public input, up to 3 minutes for anyone.
Before you come up, just a quick.
I'm sorry.
I want to reinforce what Mrs. Goodwin said about the notices to Mr. Liskovic. Make sure you follow that up with the mayor. I also think probably it would be a good idea for you to be in contact with Mr. Rua relative to being able to get something on the website in the event something like that happens again. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, sorry.
Gerald Phillips, Avon Lake Parks. Mr. Zimmerman has quoted many times what's in the club, which is comprehensive land use plan, that we have more park space than the average. And the question is, don't ask people, do you want more park space? The question is, we should do an inventory of what the people actually are using, okay? I mean, I see people go to the Veterans Park, I see people go down the Miller's Road, and those are the people who want to see the sunset. They have that opportunity. All right? Now, are we going to acquire parkland for swimming when we have a city swimming pool? We all know that swimming in a lake is very dangerous. There's undercurrents. I don't think that's a wise thing to do. We've heard of many drownings in Huntington Beach this last summer. So is that the main reason why we're doing that? We have Rice Field that deals with a number of activities. We have parks. There's one down the street from me that's on Old Electric by Brunswick. Now we have the Alps that we spend $2 million on. So isn't that enough? Shouldn't we do an inventory before we decide that we need more parkland? I mean, let's be prudent. I think we need to do an inventory and find out from the residents, what are they actually using? Is there a need to do anything else? How much more land do we need to see the sunset? Isn't the pool sufficient enough for swimming versus swimming in the lake? What are we gonna use that parkland of 22 acres? Another view of the lake? We're gonna pay $15 million for a view of the lake? Come on, we got a deficit. And we're gonna worry about, and we're raising income tax? Let's be practical. You know, see if the people actually are underutilizing park. Is the current park more than sufficient? At least in quantity it appears to be. You can walk in Cough Reservation if you wanna go through the park. You can ride your bike through there. We got Rice Field with baseball fields, a dog thing, a skate thing. What more do we need? Do an inventory, determine if the people want more specific park and what type of parks do they want. Do they want to see the sunset more? Do they really want to swim in the lake? When most of the time there'll be a pollution alert because of the algae, the bacteria? Come on, I don't think people should be swimming in the lake versus swimming in a pool. So I think we need to do a detailed study of what the people are using parks for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Oh, I'm sorry.
Evening, Mr. Zimmerman. So, Mr. Phillip makes some interesting points again. I've said that we have 15% of our land already used for park space. And yet we're adding 22 to 23 acres. I don't understand. When I go up to Miller Road and I speak to the gentleman there in the summer, and there's nobody there. He says it's a totally underutilized area. That's just concerning to me. Because we're paying $15 million to get it. So, and by the way, he's absolutely correct in regards to the fact most of the time there's signs posted that says the beach is closed, that there's a bacteria issue, and that you can't go into the water. So I don't understand why we even worry about what we're doing with the shoreline. But an idea to do with the shoreline, as Ms. Fenderbosch oftenly states, she talks about ODNR, Department of Natural Resources. What happens if we made it a state park? Get funding? Might get money to help remediate the area, clean it up. Might have somebody come forward with some money to put in docks. Maybe make a real beach. I would think that that might be a possibility, to make a phone call to people there and see what they say. I just don't understand why we're always pushing it, the whole idea of the parks and beaches and everything. It's a great idea. And as I've said before, if you lived in San Diego, 22% of the land there is used for parks. And you have 70 degrees and sunshine most of the time. We don't have that here. We're lucky right now if we get above zero today. I just think that we need to be more thoughtful about what we're trying to do. I still don't agree with the whole fact that we want to try to put together a model to find out how we should use this land to spruce it up so that the developers who build the high rises will be benefiting from it. We don't owe them anything, they should be paying us. It's a bad situation we're in, we don't have any money. And yet we're still trying to figure out ways to spend it. Fiscally sound would be a wonderful idea. And as I said, when I talked to these other mayors, one of them, Westlake's got $23 million in the bank.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Any other questions? Move to adjourn. A motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye. All right.
Thank you, Mrs. Goodwin. Appreciate that. Next, we move on to the collective committee meeting. Economic Development Committee had a meeting earlier today at 6 o'clock. Some of you may have seen or heard the ending of that, but I'll call on the chair, Rob Shamir, to give us the updates. Thank you.
Good evening. We had an Economic Development meeting earlier at 6 p.m. this evening. The subjects that were covered is the Community Improvement Corporation members. We have new members, Mr. Dan Busey, Mr. Nathan DeLong, Mr. David Glow, and Mr. Rob Haas, as well as Mr. Esborn, myself, and the mayor. This group makes the new group forming the Community Improvement Corporation. Issues that we discussed touched on the economic resiliency plan that was commissioned and completed late last year, and how that will be utilized as a part of the economic development strategy for the community. Fundamentally, the approach will be a unified economic development framework that will incorporate the finance director, the public works director, and the economic development director, and coming up with strategies on revenues and investment strategies, as well as infrastructure requirements for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, and the 15. So an integrated economic development strategy is what the concept is pushing for. It will cover areas that before have been discussed and are part of the economic resiliency plan. That includes the town center, Lear Road, Pin Oak Parkway, as well as the power plant and Avondale. So these are some of the bases. It will utilize the comprehensive plan as well as the economic resiliency and recovery plan, the multimodal plan, and the West End plan. So it will bring about all the information that was previously collected over the years and incorporated into that strategy. It will be an initiative led by Mr. Esborn with support from the Economic Development Committee, myself and the other members, as well as the Community Improvement Corporation members. Now, that is fundamentally what we looked at. The other components that we touched base on, which I think is quite important, is the Job Growth Incentive Program and the revision of that ordinance to allow funds to be allocated for economic development initiative. As it sets, the economic development program for the community has no funding, so the funding would be reallocated hopefully through adjustment of that ordinance. That is a summary of everything. I don't think it's getting on to the presentation, so. There we go. No, it's okay. Oh,
There
it's
it
okay.
is.
So effectively, as I mentioned, there's a unified development framework which brings about all the information that have been gathered. It will incorporate finance, public works as a part of this initiative. The reason that that's important, that without finance having identified industries or sectors that would allow us to bring in premium tax revenues, this initiative would not be fully functional. Again, public works would be incorporated into this thing because any economic development requires infrastructure, either growth or infrastructure development or maintenance. So this concept will be the framework of our economic development strategy for the community. And it will be a joint effort between the administration, Community Improvement Corporation, and council. And as I mentioned, This will bring about all the historical information that has been gathered, all the reports that have been produced to date, and it will focus on 4 pillars. The pillars of resiliency, of economic growth and diversification, walkability, infrastructure modernization, talent, workforce, and industry alignment. So it will be an incorporated initiative that will bring about what we can do and what we can do into the future. That is planning of infrastructure for what we envisage, as well as expenditures that will be focused on initiatives that will actually pay back. Thank you. Any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Shamir? Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes, Mr. Shamir, I think it's important that the people that are here and also for the people that are watching, that this is not just for the former power plant. This is for the city of Avon Lake.
Yes.
I think that's very important to be made because some of the discussions that we had in the previous meeting, some people took it as a focus on one area. It's not. It's for the entire city.
And if I may just respond to that, if you look at this diagram, this effectively shows you Town Center, Lear Road, Pin Oak, power plant. So it is an incorporation of everything within the community. It's a fully integrated economic development strategy that will be worked and developed for the community. Thank you.
Any more questions for Mr. Shamir? I also see Weiss Field up there. Obviously, as part of your economic development of the city, I think that our parks and our plans for the parks are very important to the quality of life that we have here.
So that effectively is the intermodal component and the interconnectivity of our community as a whole.
Yes.
Thanks.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Shamir? All right, seeing none, I'll move on to Environmental Committee. Chairwoman Goodwin, you have the floor.
Oh, okay. In the environmental committee meeting just a few minutes ago, we had a motion to move to the CCM to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 284, Environmental Affairs Advisory Board, Section 288.04, Meetings, Organization, and Section 220.053, Environmental Committee, changing the name from the Environmental Affairs Advisory Board to the EAB Environmental Advisory Board.
Thank you, yes, and I see that's on our agenda in the meeting later on a first reading.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions on that particular item, which we'll be seeing shortly in our regular meeting? Yes,
Chairman,
Mrs. Fenderbosh.
it's not just going to be the environmental chapter, but also the tree commission chapter, because we mentioned Environmental Affairs Advisory Board there. We wanted to update it to the new name, which is a much more marketing name. So it'll also be the tree commission chapter.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, seeing none. The next item on our agenda is the Finance Committee report. First thing is Zupka and Associates contract for the fiscal audits for years 2025 through 2029. And I will turn this over to our Finance Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this came up late in the season. We were expecting that the state auditors would be returning, and they informed us, due to personnel issues on their end, that they would be sending out an RFP for the next 5 years of audit work to be done by an independent audit firm. So bids were sent out to 5 different firms, and the state developed the scoring mechanism. And we had an opportunity to jump on a Teams call with all 5 firms and hear their presentation and ask questions. And then that all happened right around the first of the year. And then the bids were returned to the state auditors. They did the scoring and then sent those bids on to the city. And we reviewed those, and of those 5 firms, Zubka and Associates scored consistently highest on all of the categories except for one. And they are familiar with the city, especially with regional water and the special operations of the enterprise funds. So we felt that it was a good fit. But also, the state has the most points when awarding these bids, and the state did come up with the most points for Zubka as well. So therefore, we are asking that council consider engaging with Zubka and Associates for the next 5 years, and they would be auditing the city financial statements as well as the landfill. And that total contract for 5 years would be $183,370. And we do ask that this would be passed this evening on emergency because the audit work really should be underway already, so.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Yes, Mr. Reynolds.
Just from my own understanding, so this was something that we would have been audited by the state itself, and then they decided we needed a third-party auditor?
So what happens is cities are audited either by the auditor of state or the auditor of state delegates it to an independent public accountant. So the auditor's office has audited the city for the prior 2 years, 23 and 24. And then we were expecting them to return in 25, and then suddenly, mid-December, they decided they wanted to send out the RFP for an independent. So only the independent auditor will be auditing the books.
So for the next 5 years then?
For the next 5 years. Now, and so that council understands, that audit is sent back to the auditor of state's office for review at many levels. So the auditor's office is still seeing the results of this audit.
So just from my own understanding, if the state would have done the auditing, that cost is included. Like, is there a cost to the city when the state does the auditing itself?
Yes, there is.
And is that comparable to what?
Pretty comparable. It was 23 and 24 was a little bit lower, as in all things, costs are rising. So Zubka is a little bit more. So,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Ebert, you have your hand
Just
up.
wanted to explain, prior to 2 years ago, we had an independent auditor, the same situation. It was most cities have that same situation, independent auditors. They still get filed with the state, but the state doesn't just come out. This last 2 years, they were unique from that standpoint. Now we go back to the independent auditors.
While you have your microphone on, Mr. Ebert, I was going to have a question. I was going to wait. But this is for years 26, 27, 28, and 29, 4 different years. Is that something we're allowed to do relative to the 1 year rule on
Yes,
contracts?
Yes, we are, specifically by statute. Yes.
Specifically by statute? Okay, thank you. Ms. Fenderbosh?
Thank you. I have a couple questions and comments. On page 4, under Zubka and Associates, other required elements for the audit of the Northeast 2025 Avon Lake Pool, it says. Under communications, there's a comment there about the City Audit Committee. And during the budget meetings, we have discussed about revamping and changing what the audit committee would consist of, and that it could be a task force of residents possibly. They actually list it there, and Council President, because this is your committee, Finance, you may want to revisit that. That's one comment. And then I have a couple others. As I'm going through the paperwork, and I see where it's, $35,866 for the first year, 2025, and then it goes down to $35,559 for 26, but it jumps up, 27, 28, 29. I also see the landfill there, right? But when I move over to the next page, again, it's talking about the schedule, which has been explained to us. And as we keep turning the pages, we again come across the Avon Lake Pool. Are they going to be charging us extra to evaluate the pool? Keep turning the pages.
Mrs. Crossy? I don't know what she's looking at, but
Right, Ms. Okay.
what page?
Unfortunately, there's not a number. So let's start with where there is a number. So go to page 22, turn the page. Okay. The next one on the right is very self-explanatory, it's just the audit. Then turn the page. The next one on the right is the pool.
That pool is a term that's used, it's the Northeast Ohio pool.
Thank you. It's not the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had that same problem.
That's
I
where
knew the landfill was separate.
I kept adding it up. I'm going, my numbers.
And I don't have that page.
Thank you for the explanation. So at least you know I read these things, right? Thank you. No further questions.
All right, anything else on that? All right. Next is the removal of the 1.5 mil property tax. I'm
that-
sorry.
Sorry, was that moving to council? Do we need a motion on that?
Oh, the finance committee, yeah, because we haven't seen it in finance committee before. Yeah, I'll make a motion to move that to the, are we? Yes, we're going to do that today. I'd make a motion to move that to the agenda for the meeting following this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gentry. Next is the removal of the 1.5 mil property tax. I'll turn that over to Ms. Crossy, our finance director again.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the reason why we are bringing this to the Finance Committee here is that we are recommending, if council approves this income tax issue to go to the ballot tonight, that we will follow up with a resolution hopefully in February, that council has also agreed to stop collections of the 1.5 mil property tax. So we would just be introducing a resolution to do so. We would introduce it in February, and then it would become effective depending on how the public votes.
Thank you. Well, that is definitely the plan, and we will be moving forward with that. Does anyone have any questions about that? Yes, Mr. Shamir. I'm sorry, I thought it was, I wasn't looking. Yes, Mrs. Fenderbosh.
I think that for the people's benefit that's here and for those that are out in the community, we are controlled by the county's timetable. And October of every year is when the city of Avon Lake needs to complete a form and submit it to the tax administrator about what the taxes, how the taxes would be changed. So if the new income tax, the 0.40%, would be passed in May, then we could add that in October to go into effect January of 27. Here's the issue. That 1.5 is for 5 years, right? So if it doesn't pass in May and it has to go onto the ballot in November, it cannot go to the county until 27th October, which means it won't go into effect until January of 28. Now, how does that affect us? Because you won't save the 1.5% on your property tax. You're going to be a year behind. So if it does pass in May, you're able to save the 1.5%. I think that's an important detail.
For the benefit of people
Thank
watching, sorry,
Thank you, Mrs. Fenderbosh. Yes. Ms.
for the
Gentry.
benefit of people who are watching, can you explain what this actually is? So we're talking about doing this 0.4% increase for income tax, but what does this do?
So,
This
this.
removal,
I'm sorry.
the removal.
Yeah, so the removal, so we would stop collecting on this 1.5 mil property tax, which voters had approved last May. And so that was renewed effective January of this year. So what that would do, and that brings in about $1.1 million to general fund. So we would stop collections on that. Thereby, residents, homeowners, would save approximately $23 per 100,000 valuation of their homes. So that's offsetting a bit of the income tax increase.
Thank you. So the people who do not pay income tax would then have just a benefit of the reduction of the property tax.
Thank you for pointing that out. Yes, that would affect the seniors primarily.
Thank you, Mrs. Gentry, or Ms. Gentry. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we have, as part of Finance Committee, an emergency supply of road salt request. Ms. Crossy, I'll turn that over to you as well.
Thank you, Mr. President. So first of all, I'd like to start by saying that the city does have a state contract with Cargill. Unfortunately, due to the shortage of salt in Northeast Ohio, Cargill is short on supply, so Director Liskovec went on the hunt for some salt to order at this time, and he was able to find such a supply with National Salt, and he is hoping to order 500 tons for a cost of $108,000, and he would like to get that ordered tomorrow, hopefully. And so this is an emergency. We didn't even have time to get, we will follow up with legislation on this, but we do have within our purchasing procedures guidelines when there's an extreme emergency that this type of thing can be done as long as we discuss it with council. And I would also like to point out, and John, correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I believe the contract with Cargill is $50 a ton?
It's about 54 and some change.
54 and some change per ton. And what Director Liskovec was seeing prices closer to $300 per ton. The supplier that he has found is $217 a ton, including delivery. So he has found a good source for the time being to shore up our supplies of salt. So we just wanted to bring this to council since this is a thing that needs to be done.
Yeah, Mr. Ebert, if you would comment for us as well so that everyone understands the legal ramifications of what we're talking about.
Yes, we have with Cargill. We do have deliveries that were supposed to be due on January 22nd, January 23rd, and January 27th. When this thing came about last week, end of last week, we actually had a conference call with Cargill, because at that time, Mr. Likovich was trying to say, well, if they need trucks to go get the salt, we can supply those trucks. When I called Cargill, it had nothing to do with supplying, getting the delivery. They don't have it. They're overwhelmed. Every city's going through the same situation. Our contract had different times, and when I say those dates, those were dates when I talked to them that the week of that, they will see if they have enough, they can get it out enough and fast enough. So that's the reason Mr. Lizovic went on an alternative. And per the contract, the alternative costs, there's a provision in the contract, after we notify them that they're not going to be delivered, we can supply, we submit to them the actual cost for the additional salt that we're going to get, okay, at the cost. And why you're doing that is they want to see what the cost is going to get, and it may or may not prompt them to move a little quicker in the mining of the salt or not, but we did do that by certified mail and email that went out. There was a lot of conversations and discussions with Cargill and Mr. Liskovic and myself going back and forth in this, but we put them on notice, and that's the reason we're going forward with that. We did name them specifically per the contract, and set forth what we have to do if they can't deliver in time. Now, if they deliver on time, then there's a whole issue. In other words, we still have time at this point in time to cancel up until the date that we get a delivery date, right, Mr. Likovic?
Well, yeah, and they've technically they've defaulted on 2 out of the 3 orders we placed
Right.
already. So right now, that 500 ton is just to cover the 2 defaulted orders. We still have another 500 ton order in place that if there was some sort of miracle and they were able to ship us tomorrow, they would be in compliance with the contract language.
But this is to make that an alternative to make sure we have enough salt. And we're not, like I said, we're not the only city doing the same situation. Everyone's been in the same boat because of what's going on with the weather.
All right, I see several hands up. We'll start with we'll go that way. Mr. Shamir.
So if I may just clearly understand, they are contractually obliged to pay us the difference? So, thank you.
That was my question too.
Well, I was gonna ask that, but anyway, Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you. So this is under my committee, and I just wanted to give you a little bit more explanation. So early in last year, the city had to commit to what it was that we were going to be ordering. So this isn't an order that we just placed. All these cities, their orders are not able to be met. And you wonder, well, how can that be? There's salt under the Cleveland, and underneath Lake Erie. It's right here in our backyards. How can that be? And perhaps Mr. Liskovic could go into a little bit more detail so people understand why the salt is not available. There's salt, but they got to get it out of the mine, right? So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, essentially, it has been stated, Cargill won the state contract. There's tons of parameters within the contract as far as performance goes. One of them being that they have certain milestones to get a certain percentage of the requested tonnage by the state above ground and ready for shipment. Effective January 15th, they would have been required to have 90% of that above ground and ready for shipping. What they didn't account for, and I'm not trying to put words in their mouth, but just observationally, was the heavy hits that we had in end of November through December. And then the inflood of cities and communities requesting salt refills that early on as they're trying to get it up above ground for communities. It was essentially going out as they were bringing it up. I think we were fortunate enough compared to some other communities where we do have a bigger shed to store salt and stock it. We did have the order that was placed, or I should say, the draw that was placed on our order a couple weeks ago was the first draw we've placed this whole season. And we still have probably about 400 tons sitting in our shed. We are using it sparingly. Crews have been using it through intersections, and we will continue that. But we also have to keep focus on over the next 7 days, we're expecting to see a ½ to 1 inch of snow every day. So it is a balancing act. And then I would add additionally one more layer of complexity is the canvas cover that covers our salt on our clear span structure. That was due for replacement in 2023. The city had purchased it in 2023, but due to excessive amounts of salt from 23 through, essentially till just recently, we weren't able to access the inside of that structure for the company to come out. So we've got a quote, we've actually got the company online. We're trying to coordinate all this to where we have as little as possible, but still functionable in our shed, and to be able to get this all squared away at once. Unfortunately, some circumstances beyond our control arose, and this is where we're at. Again, working with Law Director Ebert and having conversations with Cargill. As you mentioned, February, the week of February 9th is the earliest they promised us for anything. and that's still about 2 weeks away. So that's why we're looking to move on this. Additionally, too, there's some provisions in the contract that really speak to their ability to fulfill smaller orders. So there is some strategy behind how we place our orders. You can see communities that go for 1,000, 2,000 ton. By contract, Cargill, to be in compliance, only has to fill 125 ton of that. So our orders being smaller gives us, obviously, if they're in the ability to fulfill some, we get more filled than if we had a bigger order. So hopefully that gives you some insight into all the things that happen behind the scenes, you know, and it changes every day, just like the weather. So
Mr.
Thank-
Liskovic, just so,
Hold on a second.
okay, there's another half to this.
Go ahead.
We have our commitment in May, March, what is it, March, May, for what the commitment will be. And by state rule, we have to say it's gotta be, 80%? And then we take draws off of it. And maybe the public doesn't realize that.
Yeah.
We committed last year to that percentage for those
Yep.
tonnage, right? Thank you, sir.
I'll be with you in a second. Thank you, Mr. Liskovic. I know people are probably listening very intently right now. Would you give us a little forecast of what you're planning with regard to snow removal and the roads? You said that they were using them in the intersections. I went through 83 today about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and it was full. The whole thing was, there was no salt on the road at that particular point. So if you could just give everybody a little idea what to expect and what's going to be happening in the next few days.
yeah,
Thank you.
so we've had crews in and on the road since 2:15 Sunday morning on a rotating schedule. I will tell you, on my way in at about 6:30, those intersections were wet and were melting down. And we will spot salt as needed to catch in between traffic or signalized intersections over the next couple days. Working with the distributor or the vendor too to try to get some in so that we don't feel so strapped to stretch it. But again, watching the snow that they're predicting over the next week, you know, every day a little bit. Unfortunately it's those little annoying snows that really can really stress and test your salt reserves. So I will give kudos and compliments to my staff and to all the public works staff who have really paid good attention to their usage. We will continue to keep, you know, plowing the streets and keep them open for travel. I know, you know, we've hit every street has been hit at least once, if not multiple times throughout the course of the storm. And typically it takes two passes in each direction of a lane to fully open it up from curb to curb. I know we've done, the majority of the city has received those two passes to go from curb to curb. And that's important for a number of reasons. Not that we're going to get any super warm temperatures for a melt, but in the event that you do, you need to be able to have the storm basins open to receive water so streets don't flood. Additionally, as I said, as we're looking at additional snowfalls, you need to make sure you still have room in the roadways to make them passable for residents, for emergency service and stuff like that. So there is a lot of method behind you know, snow and ice management as far as keeping the roads open. But we will be continuing to you know, have crews out because we still have blowing and drifting to contend with, and it's a constant battle. But crews will continue to be staffed throughout probably the next, you know, week.
Thank you. I know it's been a very difficult time, and it's going to even get worse tonight with the very low temperatures we're going to have, where salt probably won't even work.
Correct. It stops at about 17 degrees, effectively working. So.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ebert.
Yeah, one other thing I like from Mr. Schmier, the specific language in the contract specifically says, failure to deliver causes the receiving agency, that's Avon Lake, to incur additional costs due to delinquent delivery, i.e. moving salt from facility to facility to meet the short-term snow and ice needs, staff overtime, trucking costs, and acquiring substitute salt quantities. It's right in the contract. That's why you're seeing a lot of movement by, Cargill as far as who gets what at what point in time. That's why when Ms. Elizabeth said about the February dates of being delivered, when I talked to him, I said, well, that's anticipated, I can't guarantee, So that's what the purpose of going someplace else to get some quantity, so we have enough salt on time if in fact the winter continues to go like it is right now.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Gentry?
This may not be the appropriate time, but what's the update on switching over to brine?
With that project is actually currently in process right now. We have we had some supply chain issues in the fall when the equipment arrived that delayed installation, and then by the time everything got organized and on site, we were earlier into the winter season. But the vendor was actually out last week and we had 2 days in the installation. He's got 2 more days left. Then he'll be out next week. So we'll have that brine maker up and running. Should be early February. Now, obviously, we've got training, learning, and stuff like that. And then right now we only have 2 of our whole fleet that can actually utilize it. So that'll be something looking at future purchases and stuff like that, because once incorporated into a snow and ice program, you can see savings on the solid component, the rock salt component, of up to 25%. And then also the brine system gives us the ability to mix in other additives that will get us below that 17-degree working range, such as beet heat is a popular one right now. One that, dare I say, but got a lot of bad publicity a number of years ago was the Aqua Salina product. But so there's a lot of other things that'll enable us to manage snow and ice better and have better service to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? See no other hands, I would make a motion that we move the emergency supply to have an ordinance for the emergency supply and purchase of road salt confirmed at the next meeting of council. We'll have to have a special meeting on the 2nd if we're going to have that confirmation.
Second?
Yeah, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we will have a special meeting for that particular item on the 2nd. Finance Committee has an item, ordinance 26-2R, which we'll discuss a little bit later in the agenda, which is the income tax issue. And Finance Committee will meet February 2nd as part of the CCM. And I believe HR is also going to meet at that time in the collective committee meeting on the 2nd of February. Okay, that's all I have. Anything further for finance? Mr. Kaz, we made it to you.
Wait.
Yes, and
The
I'm not going
Public
to talk.
safety and health.
Thank you. I'm not going to talk about snow, and I'm not going to talk about plowing. Oh, she does. I'm sorry.
We'll do that when we talk on the 3rd reading in the legislation.
So, like I said, I'm not going to talk about snow. I'm not going to talk about plowing. We're going to talk about fireworks in the 4th of July. So, in our packet is the American Fireworks contract for the city of Avon Lake. This is an item that came before the last meeting of the Public Safety and Health Committee on the 21st of January. This was eventually approved with a vote of 3-0, and here are the details of that. The show dates for this year will be July the 3rd, 2026, with a rain date of July the 6th, 2026. So this is the same company that did the fireworks last year at Weiss, so I think people were very impressed with the fireworks display. And as we know, with 2026, this is a special year in that it is the 250th birthday of our country. So there's going to be a series of events beginning, I think, in the spring, and it's going to culminate with the 4th of July fireworks at Weiss Field. And with that being the case, that this is going to be a very special 4th of July celebration, there are three different pricing options that were put in here. And the option that was recommended by the administration and supported by the committee with a 3-0 vote is option number 3, $32,500. And if people are keeping track at home on that, that is the most expensive of the three. The first one was $25,000, the second was $28,750, the third was $32,500. So they were all close. But I need to talk about how this is going to be paid for. So half of this cost, as in previous years, is going to be paid for by the Friends of the Park nonprofit. So half of the cost will be covered by that. No general fund money will come out of that. The additional cost for that will come from local donations from local businesses and such. Will cover the remainder of the cost. The question was asked, do we think that we'll get this covered? And in years past, local donations have covered previous costs, and with the event being the 250th, the administration was very confident that we would be able to have this full amount covered. So with that being the full amount of the cost, the mayor and, again, the committee agreed that we should go for more bang for the buck and do this. So this is going to be on the council meeting immediately following this meeting tonight, and I'm going to be asking for a suspension of the rules and passage tonight. The reason for that is going to be there is instability in the fireworks market, and the sooner we can get this price locked down and get those dates locked in, we think is the better thing to do. So I'm going to be asking for suspension, and again, that was approved by the committee 3-0. And I don't know if anybody has any questions on that. What's that?
I don't see any. Continue, please.
Yeah, I don't know if that has anything to do with this contract, but I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
What was the point that she brought up?
Could you?
Yeah, I'm having a problem, I understand, with my microphone, so I'm going to be leaning over here toward Ms. Gentry. So in 2025, the product did not give us everything that we paid for. Therefore, they're going to add those items. They're going to add 42 additional 3-inch special effects, 26 4-inch special effects, and 10-inch 5-inch special effects. So there's actually an additional thing that's going in. That's what I thought that perhaps we should add. And then, Chairman, I did have a comment that I made at the Safety Committee meeting, and that is that I've been exposed to drone fireworks, and perhaps there could be a use for drones earlier in the summer, maybe during a concert series or something else, that could be specific for those that have sensitivity to the noise, and it's quite lovely. We experienced it in Denver over the holidays, and it was really like a cartoon in the sky. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Cos.
That's all I had on that.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any questions, additional questions on that for the next one.
I don't see any. Go ahead.
All right. The next item that I have is the Eastern Lorraine County Emergency Response Team, otherwise known as LCERT, Memorandum of Understanding. Again, this was an item that was discussed at the last Public Safety and Health Committee meeting, and the ordinance that is in our council packet and the Memorandum of Understanding, which is in both packets, was approved with a 3-0 vote. If folks remember, in late 2022, City Council voted to create or to participate in the Eastern Lorraine County Emergency Response Team alongside the City of Avon and the City of North Ridgeville. Essentially, this is a SWAT team essentially made up of those three communities. So the document that we have, the memorandum that we have in front of us is essentially a replacement for that original document. It has already been approved by the City Council of Avon, and it is in the process of being approved by the City of North Ridgeville. In discussing this memorandum, the committee agreed that we would go at least 2 readings on this and try to line it up with the passage of the North Ridgeville and try to line it up and coordinate it so that they pass at approximately the same time. This has been reviewed by the law director, and he did not have any concerns about it. I will note that on the first page of the actual memorandum, the date will have to be adjusted because it has a 2025 of what the effective date of passage would be. So other than that, I believe that the rest of the memorandum would stay as it is. There is no ending date on the memorandum of understanding. However, on page 2 of the memorandum, number 7, it does state that any of the 3 cities can exit this agreement with 30 days' notice to the mayor, to the mayors of that respected city. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or if Mr. Ebert had anything additional to add.
Any other questions on that item? Yes.
I just had one thing to add. I received a copy today with the revised date, so I'll.
Great.
For the second reading, it'll be attached.
Thank you very much.
All right, next, Mr. Goss.
Yeah, thank you. The next item I have is low-speed vehicles and under-speed vehicles, otherwise or more traditionally thought of and known as golf carts. So, in my area of Ward 4, I can't say I have had a lot of experience with golf carts being operated in the neighborhoods and on the city streets. However, in other parts of the community, this is happening often, and also in other communities as well too. What we found out was there's a lot of cities in the region that have golf carts that are operating in the city, and those cities have enacted ordinances to make sure that they are operated safely. So what we did was we had a discussion and review on this. The law director, the police chief, the mayor's office, and myself have brought together several different examples of other jurisdictions, other cities' ordinances that deal with golf carts. And the goal on all of this is if they're going to operate in the city, they have to be safe, they have to be registered, the operator of them has to be licensed, they have to pass a safety inspection, as well as a number of other things. So what the committee did was we looked at several examples and had a discussion of what we'd like to see in this ordinance that would allow these to operate. One of the additional things as well, too, I better say this as well, is that they would only be required to operate on certain streets in the city, primarily those that are 25 miles per hour streets, and they would not be able to operate on streets that are 35 miles per hour unless the underspeed, low-speed vehicle is crossing at a 90-degree angle through an intersection. Those would be the exceptions that the committee is looking at. We don't have a draft of this yet. We're going to be bringing a draft. We have the concept of it, of what we'd like to see. So we're going to be bringing a draft to a collective committee meeting, and we're going to start a full 3 reading. We're going to go through 3 full readings, and the idea is that we'll get full input from the community and full input from all members of council. And should this pass, we would line this up with the springtime when these would be operated or attempted to be operated on the city streets. So there's going to be a lot more information on this to come. We're going to work with Robert Rua and our digital media department to help put out information on this, because this is something that is new to the city, but it's not unique. There's a lot of communities that are having to put in ordinances like this. For example, the city of North Ridgeville just passed one, I believe it was a year or 2 ago. So this is kind of all around us, and we need to do this, I think, to have something on the books before there becomes an issue and we realize we don't have anything on the books. So there's going to be a lot more to come, and like I said, there's not a whole lot of specifics because it's not on paper yet, but we hope to have that at the next collective committee meeting, a draft. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple places, up by the islands, they have a lot of golf cart issues up there. So maybe cities like Port Clinton or the like might be something worth looking into. Anyone else have any comments? on this item? I'm not seeing any. Thank you, Mr. Cos. Next on our agenda is legislation. It's resolution number 26-2R, which is our going to be on for third reading at the meeting just after this with regard to the .4 income tax. I'm going to turn this over to our finance director, Ms. Crossy, at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
It's on, it's just a matter of getting, maybe if you go back out.
Yours is on?
Yeah, oh yeah. it's
Oh,
on,
you
I
think
can see.
I should go out?
Yeah, it's close, and then I'll bring it back.
I don't see any light on the screen at all up there.
I do, I see it's the bottom.
I think I
It's
do.
on at the very bottom, you can see the line. Okay, we might have to ask our technician to run out. Are you good? We do not have a picture. Thank you. Is that
And that's off too.
No, that just,
Oh.
this is, it's on, it's Beth, it's Beth. You have to go to Beth.
Okay, hold on.
It's Beth.
Should I get out? I can't.
Yeah, this wasn't, I don't think this was in. There you go. Yeah, this wasn't in.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
It's all right.
Okay. I'd first like to address a couple comments, okay, that were brought up. Okay. One of the first comments that was brought up was the 65 versus 35% split between roads and the other equipment needs in the current resolution that is being put forth to council, and that is on page 3 of the resolution, and it's also within the ordinance that will be going to council if this income tax is approved. And that changes chapter 886.01 with those percentages. And we will also be bringing forth a separate resolution, as I addressed earlier, that will be more specific about removing that income tax, or I'm sorry, the property tax. Also, there was a question about the purchase of the former elementary school, and those funds are coming from not the recreation fund used for the pool and parks and programs, but from a totally separate fund, number 603, called the Recreation Trust Fund. And at the end of 2025, that fund has about $450,000, and it brings in an annual revenue recently of about $50,000. So that is where we are coming up with the $500,000 to buy the former school. And those $50,000 in revenues come from new residential building through the builders, but also if a private homeowner comes in and builds a new home, that fee is collected from them as well. So that is where that revenue comes from. And that trust can only be used for that specific purpose, to buy park land or recreation land. And there was also a question about the capital fund. And the statement was made about the ending 2024 balance. In checking my records here, Fund 207 Capital Fund had an ending balance of $8.6 million at the end of 2024, but it also had $4.1 million in encumbrances or open purchase orders for open projects at the end of the year that would have been carried forward into 2025. So that did leave a balance for projects that were developed during 2025. But as I have explained in prior presentations, the income tax that comes into the city is allocated to 4 different funds: general fund, capital fund, debt fund, and the recreation funds such as parks and the pool and that type of recreation. So anyway, for 2025, we only allocated $668,000 to the income tax fund. And for 2026, we were unable to allocate any funds to income tax. And that is what has brought this income tax issue that we are dedicating to roads and to the capital vehicles and equipment needs, and also stormwater. I'm sorry. So I wanted to clarify that. Also, there was a question on the income tax, and I did check some records that I have developed for the last 10 years for income tax. And from 2015 to 2024, I see that there was a 71% increase, which does sound like a lot, 7% per year. However, there was a sizable jump in 21 to 22, that 1 year. There was a 27% jump. And where the income tax jumped from $10.2 million to $17.5 million. And when I started, I did question that and look into that and talk with a regional income tax agency about that. And there was consensus that that was due to the COVID effect of folks working. We currently have around 75% of residents who work outside Avon Lake. And during that time frame, there was more work done from home. And the city of Avon Lake actually saw an increase in income tax that was collected rather than it going to other workplaces outside Avon Lake. So if you remove that 1 year, well, that was a 27% jump, but if you look at the other 9 years and do an average, that would have been an average increase of 44% for those 9 remaining years, or a 5% annual increase, which is closer to what we're seeing over the last couple years. So, and if we think that an inflation factor might be around 3%, we are fortunate that we have seen that 5% increase on average. But also remember that that income tax is spread throughout those 4 funds, and the city has done quite the job in addressing capital needs within that growth that we have seen in income tax. So it is explainable, and we do have those numbers. And I have alluded over the past 5 years that we have seen $35 million spent out of that capital fund. And so that is what is happening with the city's fund balances, and therefore supports the need for this dedicated proposed income tax. Start there. And then I just have a real quick presentation. Some of it is review. Just the highlights again, we're looking at asking for a 0.4% income tax increase from 1.5 to 1.9. And we are limiting that to a 5-year increase. The credit remains at 100% up to 1.5% for those working outside, for those residents working outside Avon Lake. The additional 0.4% increase would be paid by all residents regardless of workplace. And just a reminder, 75% of the resident taxpayers work outside Avon Lake. And what that means is they are paying income tax to their workplace city, and those income tax dollars do not come back to Avon Lake. And that is part of why we're not seeing as much growth in the income tax that we might have seen. This proposed increase is for a dedicated purpose. We would be bringing in $6.6 million that would be dedicated to a 5-year road improvement program that is in place and hopefully will grow as Mr. Shamir and Mr. Liskovit have discussed. And also, it would also be dedicated to stormwater needs, vehicles, equipment, and associated debt obligations if needed. The cost to a resident would be $400 per $100,000 of taxable income, or $33 a month. Now, that would be offset by a savings of eliminating the 1.5 mil property tax upon passage of this income tax increase. And that would be a savings of approximately $23 per $100,000 of appraised value of your home. There is a calculator that will be available on the website where you can put in your own taxable income and your own appraised value of your home to see what type of increase you might see and what kind of decrease you might see for that property tax if it's eliminated. So, and just a reminder that retirement income is not taxable, so pensions and Social Security income would not be affected by the income tax increase. However, if they are homeowners, they would see the reduction in property tax. So I just want to remind everybody of that. And also, Councilwoman Fenderbosch did allude to this, that if the income tax issue passes in May, that 1.5 mil property tax collections would cease January of 27. If the income tax issue passes in November, the property tax collections would cease effective a year later, January of 2028. And again, that's because we need to report to Lorain County our rate certification, and that deadline is in October. So we would just miss that. Yes.
Just want to make sure that it's clear that if the income tax increase does not pass, this property tax will not be revoked.
That's correct. Thank you. Yes. And I just want to briefly touch on property tax. So this dollar bill represents what entities see the percent of each dollar that is collected for property tax in Avon Lake. And for the city, that is the yellow rectangle. And of course, it's the lightest and we can't see, but that's 12 cents on the dollar. Okay, so the other entities are the schools, collect 61 cents or 61%. Lorain County is 19 cents. City of Avon Lake is 12 cents. And then we have some other smaller entities, the JVS, the Health District, and the public libraries. So, and I just wanted to touch on the fact that currently the city has 3 resident-voted property taxes. These property taxes are separate from the school property tax levies and the county. And we are offering a decrease. If this income tax passes, we are offering a decrease in that 1.5 mil operating levy. Okay, we would cease collections of that. The other 2 levies that we have are a .223 recreation bond levy that ends in 2027, and I believe that collection is in 2028. And then the 2.0 mil EMS levy would be up in 2028. Most likely, we would probably seek renewal on that because those are the EMS and ambulance dollars that come into the city. And I also wanted to point out that there have been no new city property tax levies that the city has asked for. We have asked for renewals, but not new property tax levies since 2012. The reason I bring that up is I, again, just want to make the distinction that each of the entities, the schools, the city, the county, we each have our own sources of revenues, including the property taxes. We have our own property tax levies and our other sources of revenues. So each entity has their own budgets developed. And then I just wanted to show, we've been through this. We were through this a couple weeks ago, but this is the roads projection, roads and capital projection, which is part of a program that is being developed in Public Works. And I did want to point out to council that 2027 number did increase to 2.6 million. And if we look at the highlighted line here, we are at a minimum of 65%. That, which is why the ordinance has been developed in the way that it has. We are recommending a minimum of 65% of this $6.6 million be devoted to roads. And then the other percentage, we are asking that a maximum of 35% be dedicated towards the other capital needs, which is vehicles, equipment, and stormwater. Questions? Okay. And this is part of the proposed resolution and ordinance, and the ordinance would amend section 886.01 and the minimum of 65% for the purpose of maintaining and repairing streets, and then a maximum of 35% for the other capital areas that are specified. There have been frequently asked questions developed. The answers to the frequently asked questions are available on the website, depending on what happens tonight with the vote, and also the income tax calculator that I mentioned. And so you will be able to see these things on the website, and there is a QR code here that can be scanned. So. Were there any questions?
All right, I'm sure there'll be questions and or comments.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions or comments? Mrs. Goodwin?
Is there an update on the, I'm sorry, thank you, that's what you were pointing. Is there an update on what the stormwater, like, what that project's gonna look like and cost? Has any of that been started yet?
We have some preliminary projects, but there has not been an update yet on costs. I know, as example, and I keep going back to Surrey Lane is a good example, but not only is it a roadway reconstruction, but it is a storm sewer. There was a study done before I started, but there was some needs shown in that area, so that's part of it. We've got couple outfalls that have been also not highlighted, but noted that need attention to. So we'll be working to obviously continue to go down that road, but when you get into reconstruction projects, Walker Road Phase 5 was a good example where we had a lot of stormwater work that needed to be done. Almost, I think, $600,000 worth of that project was stormwater work that needed to be redone. So that could entail with that, but part of our process. Part of our process is we'll be doing a lot more camera work ahead of it in the planning process, and we're working right now to do some to get some quotes and stuff like that to start doing some camera work later this year.
Okay, thank you. So what happens if there's not enough money?
For stormwater?
Or yeah, I mean, when that 35% doesn't cover.
The income tax that comes in would still, be allocated in certain ways. So depending on what the needs are, there could be some available, but we would really need this to be a component of the needs.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Shamir?
I think we have to, they have to open it, close it and open it.
I do have a couple of questions, if I may. What you mentioned about the increase due to COVID and the effect of working from home, that makes sense. However, what you see is the trend continues. There was never a dip on the income tax revenue. And that is a question that I was wondering, I had asked earlier of Mr. Esborn if this was economic development related or something else. So that is related to work from home activities in the city of Avon Lake.
That is what I have been informed by Regional Income Tax Agency. Yes.
So what we have seen is the continuation of the same thing.
Yes.
Is there a potential of that going away because people move to offices?
Well, it's been 5 years, but that a return to the office is happening more lately, but we did not see a drop in 2025. So
Well, that's the reason I'm asking, because what you have seen is many other cities have moved back and industries have brought back folks back to the offices. Even here, a lot of people have moved back to offices, but the effects are not there, and that's why, I was a bit confused. Now, if I may continue, the jump, there is a bit of a dip. Is that associated with the power plant, the 2015, 16? If you notice, there's a bit of a dip. Is that associated with power plants reducing its activities? If I may.
I would have to see what the dollars are. So, what occurs is we have several large taxpayers, and depending on timing, I would have to go back and look at that.
Okay.
Depending on the timing or the net profits, I have to be careful what I say here. Depending on the status of the net profits with those taxpayers, that could make a sizable difference. So that's why I would need to look at that.
Now,
Mr. Shamir?
yes.
The power plant had less than 50 employees there, maybe 30 employees. So it wasn't like that kind of a dip. Looks like it could be a whole lot more employees than just 30. If I could share with you, the power plant didn't have very many employees at that point.
So revenues are not counted. Revenue taxes, income tax, industrial income tax is not counted in this space.
Yeah, it
This
should
is
be.
only RETA.
No, net profits,
Net profits are a part of this.
Yes,
correct.
So that dip could actually be associated to the power plant.
with 30
Potential.
people.
I would have to,
Okay.
I can get
No,
back to you on
That's
that.
fine. I'll just, if
Yeah.
you could, that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
So we discussed that the roads will take 65% of this initiative. So the taxes will 65% go to the roads. Now, and I fully agree that this is a required initiative, but is that a front-loaded 65% or is that going to be a rear-loaded 65%? Because the discussion that we've had, without a active plan, that 65% can be applied across the board. If that 65% is applied to the end of this cycle, say at 2030, the impact on the roads are going to be quite greater, and the effectiveness of action is going to be reduced considerably. So I think part of it is that we need clarity on where this 65%, how will it be applied? We had a brief discussion, Mr. Liskovic and I asked the question, and one of the things that Mr. Liskovic mentioned is that the initial year is going to get a significant amount of funding towards maintenance. But that clarity and transparency is quite important in this decision. I mean, I'm for this thing, and I'm going to vote in a positive manner, but how I remain depends on how the plan looks. I mean, we want to get this on the ballot, but getting it on the ballot is one thing. I think between now and the ballot, we need to come up with a clear plan of what this is going to look like. The other part of my question goes, and I'm sorry, I just, Mr. Phillips made a few comments about allocations of income tax. So I just went online while we were sitting here and I came up with a few numbers based on what was available online. So the top graph is the income tax that was given to me by yourself, but those numbers came offline. And what was interesting to me is that capital has not budged. In fact, it has gone up a little and remained, but our general has increased almost 50% since 2021. And I'm wondering, what is the driver behind that?
And I did explain that early on when all these discussions started, well, part of it. And if you'll recall, around the time of that jump in 20,
And I'm sorry, it just came over. I can tell you where it is. It's the jump came in 2022.
yes. Over the past 5 years, there were 21 full-time equivalents increase, okay? And that's just not salaries, that's the entire package, okay? And that created a jump in general fund. Now, those were for needed services. There was the growth of the city that has taken place during all that time as well. New develops, roads to plow, services that are needed. So that is a lot of what we've seen in the general fund. Because I looked into that. That was one of the first things that I needed an explanation for when the budget process began, so.
So when I look at, and I've gone back to 2010, and I looked at Google Map. So I went on yearly photos, satellite images that were available. When you look at the overall roads, really we don't have that many linear miles added. But we we seem to keep our capital cost pretty much linear, and that would represent where we are. However, now we are at a point where our maintenance cost is behind the curve. And this goes back to my other comment. And I would like to see a clear roadmap of how this 65% will be allocated and when it will be allocated to roads. Because the when is as important as the funds available. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shamir. Anyone else? All right. That item is on for third reading in the meeting that is going to come up. And first readings, we have, the first readings are the ordinance for the Environmental Affairs Advisory Board name change, the memorandum of agreement with Zupka and Associates for doing the audit. The state audit has been turned over to them by the state. The contract for the fireworks and the multi-jurisdictional agreement, ELCART, for the emergency response team. Any other items, miscellaneous business or the like that would like to be discussed at this point?
Did I miss the salt?
Pardon me?
Did I miss the salt? Did you read that out?
No, the salt's gonna be on for a confirmation
Got it.
agreement as a special meeting on February 2nd.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Seeing none, I'll adjourn the collective committee meeting. Let's take a 5-minute break and we'll be right back. Called to order the regular meeting of the City of Avon Lake Council for January 26, 2026. We are immediately following the collective committee meeting. It is now time for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd ask our Law Director, Mr. Ebert, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If I could have a roll call, please.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Here.
Ms. Gentry?
Here.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Here.
Mr. Cross?
Here.
Mr. Reynolds?
Here.
Mr. Shamir?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mayor Spetzel? Law Director Ebert?
Here.
Finance Director Crossy?
Here.
Public Works Director Liskovic?
Here.
Thank you. The mayor is under the weather today, and I'm sure that he's watching on TV what's going on. Next is we have 2 minutes to approve, the minutes from January 5th of 2026. Does anyone have any changes or correction to those minutes? Seeing none, those minutes will be approved as presented. And the next January 12th, 2026, anyone have any changes or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, those minutes will stand as presented as well. Correspondence, do we have any correspondence? Down to my left, I see none. Mr. Shamir?
I have had a couple of correspondence with respect to coyotes and the presence of coyotes. I just want to make a statement that I've got coyotes that are transecting from my backyard into Bay and back. And the city really has put out information in the past, and I think they will do the same again. But coyotes, unfortunately, are something that you can't trap, move out. If you kill a coyote, there'll be another one. If you remove them, another coyote will come in and take its area. So they're just a part of nature where we live. And I would recommend that everybody take care of their smaller animals and have awareness. And I know that the city will be republishing coyote management for the household pretty much on their website. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you. So I've received emails about the roads, the condition of the roads. People are concerned about the salt where we are. And then today, before the meeting, all of us on council, including Ms. Ross Marin, received an email from Mr. Baker, and he would like to have it entered into the record. So, Ms. Ross Marin, you have a copy of this?
Yes.
To be able to enter in. Thank
I
you
do.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other correspondence? Seeing none, now is the time for public input. Members of the audience are permitted to speak only once, up to 5 minutes, on any topic. Anyone in the audience wishing to come forward, please come forward.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Phillips.
I'm sorry I'm talking once more again, Mr. Smith.
You can talk.
All right.
We have our rules. You're allowed, and I'll even hold your thing, but you can speak as much as you want. It's up to 5 minutes.
Gerald Phillips, Avon Lake. I want to talk about the income tax and about the trend. Now, in the CAFRA, there's two different trends. One's based on a cash basis, and the other one's based on an accrual basis. And the jump was in 2022, as Mr. Schmier said, but COVID was in 2020. March 3rd, governor declared emergency. July something 2021, he removed the emergency. So those are the only 2 years that would be affected by the COVID. Because if you look in the CAFRA, they do it on an accrual basis, not a cash basis, but an accrual basis. And really, 2020 was almost the same as 2019. And in fact, 2021 was $1.3 million more. So this increase from 2021 to 2022 is not due to COVID. And if you go on the accrual basis, the increase from 2015 is 77.2%. Now, I'm looking at Ford's personal property in 2015 taxable was 9.9 million, and in 2024 it's 5.3. So it's pretty evident that there was a contraction as far as Ford Motor within the city of Avon Lake. Also, their employment went down by about 150, 200 people. In the general obligation fund, which gets a certain percentage of the revenue, there was $2.2 million at the end of 2024. So we have a surplus, but yet we're still allocating, that same percentage. And in the street fund, we have a separate street maintenance fund, and that had 1.4. I'm looking at this allocation. We have a capital fund, and we have a street fund, and I'm not sure where the stormwater fund goes. I don't see a separate stormwater fund. I'm assuming maybe that goes into the street fund. But if you're going to have an ordinance and you're going to make it specific and you're going to restrict it and make it a restricted fund, then you need to identify the funds and make sure the allocations go in the appropriate fund. And you do have a capital fund, and you do have a street fund, but I don't see a stormwater. So, you're 65% going in what, 2 funds? Or maybe you need to create a new one. I mean, fund accounting says if you're going to have restrictions, that fund can only be used for that purpose and not multiple. As far as streets, any new developments in the last 5-10 years, those streets should be in pretty good condition. unless we're not giving bonds for the developer to guarantee the improvements. Population, there hasn't been that big of a growth. 2015, it was 22,581. In 2024, it was 25,206. Not a very big increase to cause that great of an increase in employment. The income tax for 2024 was 18 million plus, and if you take 1.9 divided by 1.5, then multiply the 18 million, based on that ratio, we should collect $23,663,712 just on the employment, whatever the tax is, and that was based only on employment. And that's an increase of almost 5 million. And 75% of the people work outside the city. I'm just curious of how much that's going to collect just for the residence tax. It seems like it's got to be more than, 1.5 million. So,
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Anyone else in the audience? Welcome again, Mr. Zimmerman.
Thank you so much, Mr. Smith. William Zimmerman. I'll keep it short. I won't use my 5 minutes. I did want to talk about a couple of things. Earlier in the economic development meeting, we were having, Mr. Esborn was making comments about the fact that we're still trying to make sure that our professionals are getting paid. This would be Todd Davis, Verdantis, other people like that. Now, I don't know what work they possibly are doing at this point. It's rubble and just a white elephant sitting there and nothing else is happening. So I don't understand why they still need to be paid or why we would be concerned about that, since we've given them well over $250,000. So I have issues with that since we're already in a deficit. Now, the survey that he spoke about also, 18 residents filled out. And I find it interesting that you can probably go online and find the results. Concerns about new high-rise buildings, concerns about new apartments, concerned about TIFs, concerned about data centers. So instead of using some other word, it's just concern, because the other choice is support. And I don't believe anybody was supporting any of those things. I find this just be wordplay instead of saying that the citizens are against it. So in those few moments, I just think that we need to take a long look at the tax issue. And I believe it should not pass. We should not be bailing out the city. We should not be trying to find money to do something else because of what I would consider to be frivolous spending along the way. I believe that this has been caused by this administration the last 2 years. As I've asked in the past, are you better off than you were 2 years ago? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Anyone else? I see no one else here. At this point, we're going to move into the reports. The mayor's not here. On my report, the only thing that I have is, we've already discussed it, is that there will be a finance committee meeting as part of the collective committee meeting on February 2nd. Any questions for me? Mr. Ebert?
No report to this evening, Mr. President.
Ms. Crossie?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Mr. Liskovic?
Nothing further from earlier.
All right, that takes us to the standing committees. Ms. Gentry, you're first at Building and Utilities. Anything further?
Nothing further. We've discussed most of everything.
All right, Mr. Shamir, Economic Development.
Nothing further beyond what I've already discussed. Thank you.
I'm Finance. I already covered that in my Council President report. Mr. Reynolds, Human Resources.
I have no report, other than our meeting will be in conjunction with the CCM on February 2nd.
Thank you. Mr. Cost, Public Safety and Health.
Nothing further, but I do want to indicate or restate that I'm going to be asking for suspension of the rules on the fireworks contract for the reasons stated at the previous meeting due to instability in the fireworks market and to lock those prices and that date in. Thank you.
Thank you. That makes perfect sense to me. Next, we have Mrs. Fenderbosh, Public Service.
Thank you. The Public Works Department Public Service Committee will be meeting February the 4th at 5:30 p.m.
Anything further?
Not for public service.
Thank you. The Zoning Board of Appeals, I believe, meets this Wednesday, so we don't have a report on them. Parks and Recreation, Mrs. Goodwin.
I have nothing to report yet. My first meeting with them is this Wednesday.
Okay, thank you. Any special committee reports? Yes, Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you. Yes, the Tree Commission will be meeting on February the 11th at 6 p.m. at the old firehouse. And they have put forward a free class for the community and for public works and arborists in other communities on February the 12th. And it's called a Backyard Fruit Tree Pruning Class. Again, it's free. It's from 10 o'clock until 2 p.m. And RSVPs are to come to me at jfenderbosh@avonlake.org. And I've already had over, just in a couple of days, even with people not being at work this past snow days, I have over 18 people already signed up. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And before we know it, we will be ready to start pruning trees here soon. So, any other?
Hands-on, sir.
Pardon me?
This is a hands-on with fruit trees. You do it during the dormant season. So there's a peach and there's an apple at the old firehouse. The reason why we're doing both of them is that one has a stone, the peach, and one doesn't. The techniques that are going to be taught can also be used for all other flowering trees. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other special committee reports? Seeing none, we'll move into legislation, third readings. I would ask the clerk to read by title only, resolution number 26-2R.
A resolution declaring the necessity of an election on the question of approving the passage of an ordinance amending section 886.01, 886.03, 886.04, and 886.06 of the city's codified ordinances to provide for the levy of an additional 0.4% income tax for 5 years, commencing January 1st, 2027, to provide funds for the purpose of paying cost of 1, maintaining, repairing, and improving city streets by constructing, reconstructing, widening, grading, draining, curbing, paving, and extending streets and related bridges, and 2, constructing storm sewers and related drainage improvements, installing traffic signals and signalization, and acquiring vehicles and equipment for city departments and functions, including debt charges on city notes, bonds, or other obligations issued for those purposes, and declaring an emergency.
I move the third reading of resolution number 26-2R. This, as we all are aware, and hopefully most of the public is aware, is the request to increase our income tax by 0.4% beginning at the beginning of next year. We have set this ordinance up so that 65% of the funds that will be returned from this increase will go directly to the repair of streets. The other 35% will go for the stormwater, for capital funds and vehicles. The monies that will be, it is very important that everyone understand and that the administration knows that the 65% for roads is non-debatable, and that as the performers have shown that that amount actually will go up over the term of the 5 years. If anybody has any other questions or comments, looking for any hands on this? Yes, Mr. Shamir.
Just once again, I will be supporting this with one caveat, as I've mentioned before, that there is a plan that is going to come in before the actual vote in May, and that plan showing the timeline, the front loading of the roads versus any other activities being given priority. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that caveat as well. All right,
I third.
I move for passage. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Cos,
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. Shamir,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes,
Mrs. Fenderbosh,
Yes.
Ms. Gentry.
Yes.
thank you. That has passed. Next, we're on to first readings. If the clerk would read by title only, ordinance number 26-6.
An ordinance amending Code of Ordinances, Chapter 284, Environmental Affairs Advisory Boards, Section 284.01, 284.02, 284.03, and 284.04, and Chapter 288, Tree Commission, Section 288.04, and Chapter 220, Council, Section 220.05.
Mrs. Goodwin.
I move for passage.
Though
Oh, wait, what do I
the
say?
first reading.
Oh, the first, what do I say?
Or discussion or to
Oh.
talk about.
Yeah, this is the first reading.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, it was explained pretty clearly, and would thank Mr. Craig for being here as well to help with this. Okay, next, if the clerk would read by, that concludes the first reading of ordinance number 26-6. The clerk would read by title or only ordinance number 26-7.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or finance director to enter into a memorandum of agreement with Zupka and Associates and the auditor of the state of Ohio for the performance of statutory audit services for the fiscal period January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2029, and declaring an emergency.
I move for the suspension of the council rule requiring 3 readings. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Cos,
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. Shamir,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Yes.
Ms. Gentry.
Yes.
Thank you. I move for passage of ordinance number 26-7. This is, we discussed this in the collective committee meeting. This is the, Zuska is going to be taking the place of the, by the state auditors. And this is in order to get the process moving forward, as the finance director said, in a very expeditious manner, in order that we're not waiting like we did a couple years ago for the final state audit report. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Cos,
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. Shamir,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes,
Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Yes.
Ms. Gentry.
Yes.
thank you. That has passed. I would ask the clerk to read by title or only ordinance number 26-8.
An ordinance awarding a contract to American Fireworks Company for the 2026 4th of July fireworks and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Cos.
I move to suspend the council rule requiring 3 readings.
Please call the roll.
Mrs. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Cos,
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. Shamir,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes,
Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Yes.
Ms. Gentry.
Yes.
I move for passage of ordinance number 26-8.
discussion.
Yeah, in discussion, just to recap very quickly, this is with American Fireworks. The show dates would be July the 3rd, 2026, rain date July 6th, 2026, and the amount of the contract is $32,500. of which approximately half of this would be paid by the nonprofit Friends of the Park, and the other half of this would be paid through donations through our local businesses and other sponsors.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, if you'd please call the roll.
Mrs. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Koss,
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. Shamir,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes,
Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Yes.
Ms. Gentry.
Yes.
thank you. That ordinance has passed. If the clerk would read by title only, ordinance number 26-9, please.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a multi-jurisdictional agreement for the Eastern Lorraine County Emergency Response Team, ELCERT, comprised of the City of Avon, City of Avon Lake, City of North Ridgeville, and West Shore Enforcement Bureau, also known as WEB.
Thank you. Mr. Cos.
Yeah, thank you. This is the first reading of this ordinance number. As I stated before, we're going to try to line up the passage of this to coincide with North Ridgeville. So whether that's in 2 weeks at the second reading or at a full 3 readings is when we'll be looking to get this passed. Mrs. Rossmarin, just looking at this 26-9, I'm just noticing this now. I don't see the emergency in there. And go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was told there wasn't going to be an emergency.
Yeah, Mr. Cos, we contacted the chief to see if that was gonna be necessary, and he said that it wasn't needed to be an emergency at this point, so we took off the emergency clause.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is because when we passed it out of the committee, it had that in there, so that's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
And if the law director and the chief and the mayor are fine with that, then I'm
Yeah,
okay with
well,
that.
yeah,
That's fine for the wait, there's
Yeah.
no urgency that it has to be an emergency tonight.
Okay,
yeah, thank you.
thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, that concludes the first reading of 26-9. Any miscellaneous business and announcements on my left? On my right, Mr. Shamir?
There will be a Ward 1 meeting tomorrow at 5:30 at the library. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone? Seeing none, I'll take Mr. Cos.
Motion to adjourn?
Please call the roll.
Mrs. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Koss,
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds,
Yes.
Mr. Shamir.
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes,
Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Yes.
Ms. Gentry.
Yes.
meeting is adjourned at 9:52. Thank you, everyone.